Have you ever been burned out on guitar? It happens more than you think. Today, I'm going to tell you how to succeed on guitar without wearing yourself out. So stay tuned. Hello and welcome, friends, to episode 154 of the Play Guitar Podcast. I'm Lee, and this is the podcast that's determined to make you a better guitar player. No matter if you're just starting out or you've been playing for years, this is the show that will help you become the guitarist that you always wanted to be. If you're new here, make sure you subscribe to the podcast and check out the description for all of the links from the show. Guitar burnout, it's real and it's no fun. For some of you, you could be thinking, what are you talking about? Playing guitar is what I'd rather be doing. Anyway, I could play all day long. It's my favorite thing to do. I get it. But sometimes, especially when you've got pretty high goals, succeeding at the guitar can get the best of you. The purpose of this podcast isn't to get you practicing. I'm assuming that you're already practicing. This one is for the players. And this isn't for those who are already burned out and want to get back to normal. This is a preventative measure. We're going to try to head this thing off at the pass. I'm going to show you how to stay away from saying phrases like, I'm putting in tons of time and effort and I'm not happy. Or I'm seeing some results, but it's a big cost. Or I don't feel like playing, but I'm forcing myself to play. If this sounds like something that could benefit you, I've got a bonus for you at the end of the show. Hang around. You'll learn the 3 steps to keep things interesting on the guitar. Okay. How do you keep guitar burnout away? The answer comes in 2 steps. 1, be intentional with your practicing. And 2, don't take things so seriously. Sounds very simple, right? Well, if this is so simple, why do I find myself giving this advice over and over? Giving it so much? I think it's because of the unique way that the guitar is learned. Most of us come to the guitar thinking it's going to be easier than it actually is. There's a lot to discover about how the guitar works, and it takes us in different directions than we thought would happen when we first picked it up. Then something happens. At that point, it changes. It's not just a fun thing to do anymore. Playing guitar becomes a challenge. And that's good. A challenge can be very exciting. It draws you in. But this is where the problem is. This is the disconnect. We're thinking that we're still having fun just because we're playing the guitar. But we're really pretty hard at work. And work can be fun, but it will definitely wear you out if you're not careful. And also it creates a very confusing feeling when things get real. So I told you what the 2 steps are. What's the first one? The first one was to take control, to be intentional with your practicing. This is the one that's usually avoided. And it sounds silly, but scheduling breaks ahead of time. When you're motivated and you're excited about learning something, the last thing that you'd be thinking about is, well, when am I going to take a break from this? Breaks are important. They're important for your musical, they're important for your mental, and they're important for your physical well-being. If you think about how our lives work, our whole lives revolve around a cycle of being awake and then asleep. That's how we work best. We need rest. Rest also gives our mind time to work some things out, to work out problems and work out challenges. Have you ever experienced working on something and you were struggling and then you slept on it and the next day when you played, it wasn't a struggle anymore? What happened? Was it magic? It wasn't magic. It gave your mind and your body some time to recharge. Playing guitar is like it's mental and it's physical exercise. And those who play out in clubs know exactly what I mean. When you're performing guitar, it's the extreme. It's draining. Think about it. Think about a night of music. You're excited, so you're already ready to go. You're carrying heavy equipment. You're standing, holding your guitar and playing for hours. Then you have the of keeping up that excitement of the performance through the whole night. Then you have to break everything down and carry it all back where you came from. It takes a while to build up from that. If you ever, took a break from playing out and then went out and played a gig, that next morning you feel like you ran a marathon. So with that being said, let's start scheduling some breaks ahead of time so we don't get to that point of burnout. And the first place is a no-brainer. It's holidays and vacations. Most of us look at those and go, I can't wait to the holidays, where I can really get some practicing in. Although it's great to practice every day, you're going to need some downtime. Why not have it coincide with your holidays? You're going to be out of your routine anyway. So those are really good times to plan for. Really just take advantage of those times. Another place to schedule some breaks is at regular intervals. Really, if you just do these two things, you're in good shape. I like every 6 weeks. For those who are taking my courses, that they've seen this before. It's how my courses are structured. For most of them, there's a halfway point at 6 weeks. And that's our review week. We take time to review. Basically, it's a break from the routine. Now, we're still doing some things, but a break doesn't have to be a full stop. Sometimes just doing something different for a week can keep burnout at bay. The next big issue in my teaching, you've heard this before, the difference between practicing and jamming. Please realize that there's a difference between them. And a good balance between the two will definitely keep you away from burnout. They're both important. And if all you do is practice and never play, or if all you do is jam all the time but never work on new things, frustration and eventually burnout come pretty quickly. So plan time for both. It could either be in the same practice session. We've talked about this, breaking up half and half play, half practice, or you could break it up over days. Have a few days where you practice, a few days where you do some jamming. But just realize that if you don't have these both in mind, if you don't schedule both of these things, they're not going to get done. You're just going to gravitate towards the one that you usually do. And finally, here's another. Stop beating your head against the wall. Here's what I mean. Just plan on being flexible a bit, adjusting your practice sessions as you go. The truth is, some things take longer than others. Some skills take longer than others to be able to. You can learn how to do something quickly, but sometimes it takes a while for it to become part of your playing. And it's different for different people. You might fall into a rut. You might get frustrated with your progress and you're struggling to get out of it. But there's nothing wrong with taking your time to learn something that's important. And realize that some things are best done in very small segments over time. If you were going to breeze through them, you might miss something that's pretty important. It's okay if you're not progressing as fast as your friend is. At some point, it could all be flipped, and your friend might find a skill that's difficult for him or her. And it takes them time to master that too. The last part of being intentional with your practicing, I think, is to take a self-stress check every so often. There's a sad part of this. And even though everything I've said this evening, it's evening when I'm recording this, is easy. There's nothing groundbreaking. But I've seen time and time again that students don't even realize when this is going on. You ask yourself some questions. Are you having fun and getting better at the same time? That's the narrow path. That's where we're trying to get to. Ask yourself, are you worn down? Are you frustrated? Do you feel like you're not making any progress? Does guitar add value to your life, or does it take it away? Two parts to this. The second part, we said before, don't take things so seriously. Take a look at your guitar and your amp and the many colors of your guitar pedals, right? It looks like fun, doesn't it? It does to me. And I talked earlier about how we start learning guitar with fun in mind, and then something happens, and we all, me to everybody, we all go, what happened? And then it's all about progress, and it's less about fun. Remember, it's very hard to see your own progress. And when you're always trying to gauge how you're doing, gauging your own progress, that causes frustration. You just need to trust that if you're doing the work, the progress is going to come on its own. I always thought this is why so many players get really into acquiring a lot of gear, buying stuff. And why is that? It's because that's fun. It's exciting. And when that initial fun of learning the guitar when you first started wears off, it fills a void. A new purchase always makes things better. There's a problem with it though. It's short-lived. Eventually you have a bunch of great gear, but your playing is left behind. For me, this is the key for me is to find different things to do with the guitar that are rewarding. Things where it doesn't matter how good you are. Things that doesn't matter if you can shred or not. Things like playing a benefit for someone or playing for kids or I've done this, play in a play or playing for church or different things like that. Using your guitar for something other than your own accomplishments. It's amazing how each one of those things that I'm thinking about right now, benefits, doing stuff for kids' classrooms, all this, it brings the fun back into focus really quickly. I'm asking a lot of questions today. Here's a few more. Why did you start playing guitar in the first place? Just take a moment and think about that. What was it? And what do you like about the guitar now? What do you think's cool about guitar now? Is it very different? Have things changed? Music's supposed to be fun. And it's not the end of the world if you make a few mistakes. If you see your favorite guitar players, they make mistakes. They just cover them up real good. Embrace your mistakes. Mistakes are important. That's how you really get better, by paying attention to your mistakes. I want to thank my friend Mark. We've been back and forth talking about things like this. And as we were talking about things like this, the idea for this came to mind. I know there's a lot of people in this boat. Just remember that you're doing great. You're working hard, but don't forget to take care of yourself. Take some breaks. Don't be so hard on yourself. This is fun. I know it's fun. I love playing guitar. I love talking about guitar with you guys. So, okay. That brings us to our 3 simple steps to keep things interesting on guitar. Okay. 3 simple steps. First one is be quick to change. Embrace change. Don't feel like you have to stick with the same routine all the time. Don't feel like you have to stick with the same gear all the time. Don't even feel like you have to play with the same players all the time. Change is good. That's what we're doing here. We're trying to change. We're trying to take ourselves and how we're playing guitar and become the guitarist that we always wanted to be. That's change, right? So change is not easy for anyone. It's not easy. It's easier when change happens to you because you just deal with it. But to, like we're talking today, plan things out ahead of time. Plan that change, not easy to do, but embrace it. Number 2, the second simple step to keep things interesting on guitar is don't forget to listen to and learn a lot of music. You wouldn't think I'd have to say this, but a lot of people who are practicing their instruments, they stop listening so much anymore. They don't take the time to find something new. Listen to some new music in your main style of the player that you would like to be. And spend some time listening in different styles of music too. Open your mind to some different things. And make transcription part of your practice routine. Listen to something and try and figure it out. Listen to something and try and figure it out on the guitar. Don't run to the tabs. They're wrong anyway. The convenience of being able to quickly look at a tab and kind of figure something out robs you of the most important growth that you could have, which is building your ear with the guitar. How about the third simple step to keep things interesting on guitar? Start creating some music. We say, well, I'm not a songwriter. I don't want to get into all that. That's a lot of work. Well, how about this? Create something small. Start with some guitar licks. Create a few of them. Record them. Write them down. Start with some licks. You're probably already doing that anyway, just noodling on the guitar, right? Just take some of those things that you're noodling around with and make them real, make them solid, write them down or record them. Okay. How about create some chord progressions? Probably already doing that now too. Fooling around with chords, playing some here, some there. And why don't you find some that you like the way they sound? Make them real, write them down, record them. Or go all the way to full songs. Create some music. Always keeps it interesting. It's hard to do. I've got a whole slew of full songs that are halfway done right now. So, okay. I hope this helped you. I know for a fact that it's a subject that a lot of you're going through. If you're going through something like this, if a lot of this sounds like something that you could use, a lot of it sounds familiar, let me know about it. I want to know. Man, you can send me an email, lee@playguitaracademy.com, or you could just over in the Facebook group. Let us know how everything's going. Okay. All right. Want to remind you about my practice space setup checklist. A lot of people have downloaded this. We've had it for a little while now, and it's the way to make sure that you have everything that you need in a certain space, so that when you do have that precious time to sit down with the guitar, you're not wasting time looking for things. Everything's there and ready to go, and it feels right too. So you can go and grab that over at playguitaracademy.com/practice, or just go to the main page and scroll down. There's a link to it right there. All right, I'm going to call it That's a wrap. Thank you for joining me today for the Play Guitar Podcast. Make sure to hit the button below to subscribe to the show. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the notification bell. You can get all of my content as soon as it comes out. For more episodes, lessons, and ways to get involved with the Play Guitar community, visit playguitaracademy.com. Thanks again, and I will see you on the next episode.